down here today at Carton House, the home of Golf Ireland. The occasion for this trip outside of Dublin is the launch of a new strategic plan for the sport to take place over the next 5 years. It's very well crafted. It looks at 5 pillars, 18 key objectives and 76 action points that the organisation is going to judge itself on over the next 5 years. It caters to clubs, it caters to young players, it caters to women and girls coming into the sport, and it caters for the very highest levels of the sport. It is a sport which is going to be in the spotlight like never before over the coming years, with tournaments like the JP McManus Pro-Am, the Open Championship coming back to Royal Portrush, the Irish Open itself taking place at Mount Juliet and beyond, and the resurgence of the Irish Women's Open, which is going to be taking place in September. We sat down with Golf Ireland CEO Mark Kennelly to discuss some of the areas around the plan, which is going to be an important marker for how the sport develops over the next 5 years. So great to see you, Mark, and great to have this new strategic plan that's come out about where you see golf moving over the next 5 years. 5 pillars, 18 objectives, 76 action points. There's a lot to go through in that, but from your perspective, how important was it to lay out a roadmap that's going to take us from here all the way through to 2026?
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, it's a very exciting week for Golf Ireland because we're setting out our first ever strategic plan or roadmap, as you called it, for the new organisation. During 2021, despite the challenges of COVID, we managed to get our organisation completely and fully established and operational. Now we're moving, and towards the latter part of the year, we focused on preparing this plan. We've had extensive internal and external consultation, over 10,000 people both within the golf community and in our key partnerships took part in that consultation. So what we're publishing this week is a culmination of that work, where we have listened to the views of our community, we've listened to the views of our key partners, and we've developed this roadmap where we set out what our values are, what our priorities are, what our key objectives are over the next 5-year period, and we're looking forward to hitting the ground running and getting on with it.
It is a very substantial consultative piece, as you mentioned then, 10,000 participants in the online survey. Was there a wide range of views as to where golf should be moving towards, considering where it has traditionally been, or was there a broadly based consensus that, you know, we're looking at youth, we're looking at equality, we're looking at perhaps a more modern take on where the old traditional golf club mentality might have been?
Yeah, I mean, we were very encouraged with the consistency and the feedback. And as you will recall, just 3 years ago this month, all the golf clubs on the island of Ireland voted to establish Golf Ireland. So we were very mindful of the values that underpin that vote and underpin that proposal about being modern and inclusive and, you know, having equality at the heart of everything we do. So those same values are now instilled, as you will see in the plan that we're publishing this week. So we found a great consistency, and what we hope this plan does is it takes those core values that the clubs endorsed so overwhelmingly just 3 years ago and fleshed them out in terms of how we're going to deliver on these objectives over the next 5 years. And as you say, in that we have identified 18 holes or 18 key objectives, and that then will be supported by 76 specific actions, which we will timeline in operational plans that we will develop annually over the next 5 years. So to answer your question, yes, we heard a range of views, but equally a very consistent message about the kind of values that are going to be instilled in Irish golf for the future, about moving, you know, building on the tremendous tradition of the two unions, but moving forward in a new organisation. So that has been very, very heartening. And we've, as I say, we haven't been dependent on a survey. We've done extensive one-to-one and group sessions right through the organisation for representatives of youth groups, from clubs, from our regional structures, our national committee. So right across the organisation, we have taken the time to listen to people's views, and insofar as we can, to incorporate those views in the plan that we're bringing forward this week.
It may seem odd to say that your timing is very good, but you came on board with Golf Ireland, created it just on the eve almost of a global pandemic, which basically shut down sport, shut down society. most sports would look upon what they've endured over the last 2 years with very little other than pain. But golf has actually had a pretty good COVID, if it could be said. 2.3 million rounds of golf that were played on the island of Ireland last year, which was a staggering increase, like of something to the tune of 50 or 60% higher than it was the previous year. So there are more people now that have come to golf. We've got still a cohort of players from Leona Maguire, still all the way through Padraig Harrington, Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, Seamus Power, that are really playing well for us on the world stage. So it's kind of perfect timing to actually introduce this now. Is the strategy aimed at this new audience of golfers and golfing fans, or is it very much still with one eye on the foundations on which the sport has been built?
Well, the first thing I would say, Rob, is that the fact that we've been able to establish the organisation during the pandemic is a testament to the collective effort and determination actually right across the golf community to get on with this project and not to be held back by the challenges of the pandemic. But I mean, you're right. The golf has had a lot of advantages that have been highlighted in the last 2 years. The fact that we're a lifelong sport, that the proven health, physical and mental health benefits of golf, they've been very much prominently featured in the last 2 years, and that has led to more people taking up our sport, which we really welcome. We've had a substantial increase in club membership. And as you'll see in the report, we also have a very, very big cohort of people in Ireland who play golf regularly who have yet to become members of golf clubs. So there's a huge community out there that are already engaged with our sport. What we're hoping to do with this plan is kind of harness that level of activity and interest in golf, for the betterment of our clubs and for the future of our sport. But in the strap line or the vision statement of this plan about golf being for everyone, in that we try to encapsulate what is a very detailed plan into one sentence and to highlight what we see as the real benefits of golf, about it being a sport that everybody is welcome in, irrespective of gender or background, a sport that people really have fun in playing, and that came across very, very strongly in the feedback, both in the consultation sessions and in the survey. It's a sport that is very healthy, and that has been proven, both cardiovascular health, diabetes, mental health. The studies are there to show what a healthy pastime golf is. And finally, it's a sport that you can literally play from the age of 8 to 80, or sometimes even longer.
Good fun and good for you. There's an accusation, perhaps, I think wrongly, but that has been levelled at golf amongst other sports, that it is perhaps a little elitist. The idea of the sort of the golden gates, the gilded gates, and on the way up to the clubhouse and things like that. But the numbers that are playing now, and going onto a driving range and seeing the youth and the numbers of people that are there, the reality is very far removed from there. But golf clubs are still separate entities, which are the cornerstone of what the sport is all about. Is there a sense that this is moving a little bit to bring it to being a sport of the people rather than a sport of the club members? And is there a little bit of tension perhaps in there over the future?
No, I don't think there's a tension, but I think there is a past perception that you pointed out of golf, which I think is changing, and it hasn't happened just in the last 2 years. I mean, golf has been changing for the last 20 or more years and is becoming more open and more inclusive. But in this plan, we recognise that we have more to do. We want to arrive at a situation where everybody on the island, irrespective of their background, feels welcome in golf. We are moving to that position, but we would be naive to say that we have achieved that. But part of the rationale for this plan is that we get to that point. And we see very encouraging progress in the clubs right across the island, both urban and rural, to become more open, to become more accessible, to become more inclusive. We see tremendous engagement around clubs, opening up their governance, engaging with us and the supports we offer around improving access to Women in Golf Charter, the Level Power programme, to get into golf programmes, all of which are aimed at broadening the appeal of golf and bringing people into golf so that they know that they're welcome. And we are very, very happy and encouraged by the level of engagement from our clubs on those initiatives. We have over half our clubs signed up to the Women in Golf Charter, which sets out a clear roadmap for how the position of women and girls, both in the participation in golf, but also in the governance of their clubs, can be improved. So the early signs are extremely encouraging. I think there's huge goodwill within the golf community to become closer to the communities in which they operate, to cooperate with other sports. We're going to have a lot more cooperation with schools, as other sports have been doing very, very well. So we have an agenda in this plan to improve the linkages between our golf clubs and the communities they serve, because golf is part of the community. And we have an average golf club membership of over 600 people. These are women and men in every community in Ireland, and almost 400 golf clubs that are very much part of the community. I think one of the other things we've seen during the pandemic is how responsible the golf community were about not just keeping their own membership safe and abiding by all of the public health restrictions, frustrating as they were for much of the time. But the golf community did the right thing. They were conscious of the communities in which they live, and they did the right thing. And I mean, to your point on participation, like, we were very fortunate in each of the lockdowns. Golf was essentially the first sport to reopen, and they were occasions of great joy for the Irish golf world. But when golf was closed, we acknowledged that there were some very frustrating times.
Little bit of innovation as well. I remember the cup holders, so that you didn't actually have to take the flag out on the green, and little bits of innovative thinking to actually enable us all to come back to it safely. You introduced a new juvenile policy as well, encouraging the voice of youth to actually come through into it too. So very good, very diverse, very well balanced in terms of that. Speaking of balance, one of the pillars is nurturing our future talent, and obviously creating the kind of players that can emulate those who have gone before and who are occupying top places on the world rankings at the moment. Is there a balance? It's always a question within sport, the balance between high performance and participation. The strapline, as you said, of golf being enjoyment and for everyone and for life and for health, is aimed very much at the mass market of getting people to actually play. But where does the balance lie between that and your own emphasis and your focus in Golf Ireland on producing the golfing superstars of tomorrow?
Well, I don't see them, Rob, as competing priorities. I think they're both priorities that we have the capacity to deliver. And I'm a firm believer that the more people, the more boys and girls that take up golf, the more talent we will have to feed through our high performance programs. So you're absolutely right. The huge international success our elite players has made them into role models for young people, both on in terms of the emerging women's talent. Notably Leona Maguire, Stephanie Meadow, and Olivia Mahaffey. They're doing tremendously well in their professional careers. They will be an inspiration to young girls to take up golf. Equally on the men's side, you've named Seamus Power and Rory McIlroy and Padraig Harrington and Shane Lowry and others. Like, they are tremendous role models. But we're not going to neglect one in favour of the other. We're, and it's core to this plan, that the more young people, and it's not an accident, like, we've a lot more professional male players than female players, and that's a function of the number of women who are playing and girls who are playing our sport, which we want to increase, and it's one of the key objectives of this plan, to increase participation of women and girls. So we firmly believe that the more people who take up our sport, who develop a love for it, that in itself, and that increased participation and that increased engagement, will help us to create the pipeline of talent for the future. If we don't get girls in particular, but girls and boys, to take up golf, then we won't find the talent that we need to keep that international representation as strong as it is today. So I don't see them at all as mutually competing priorities.
I think we've covered most of the elements in there. One of the last ones that we didn't touch on is delivering great events. It does promise to be a decade of unbelievable golf on the island of Ireland. We have the JP McManus Pro-Am, we have the Ryder Cup, which is coming in a few years' time, we have the Open Championship back to Royal Portrush again, and we have the rebirth of the Women's Irish Open. Do we have a date yet for when that's going to take place?
Yeah, so the date, I'll leave it to the Ladies European Tour to confirm the details around the venue, but the date is in the weekend in September. So it's something we're very excited about, and as you said, Rob, we're so lucky on this island that we have truly global golfing events coming here regularly, and in particular in the next 5 or 6 years, you're culminating in the Ryder Cup in 2027, the Open coming back to Portrush, the Men's Irish Open every year, a Challenge Tour event every year, and now the very welcome news, which is something we've been working behind the scenes right through 2021 on, is securing the revival of the Women's Irish Open. Because for us and for me, I've always said that it's been a glaring gap in the golf calendar in Ireland, and I think the fact that that event is coming back, the fact that we will see the most talented golfers in Europe playing on our soil, and that girls and boys can go and see them play on home soil, it's just a tremendous opportunity, and we hope it's a huge success, and we hope that it's an event that will grow and grow, as is befitting Irish golf, that there should be a top tier women's professional event on the island every year, and we're very much looking forward to playing our part in making that happen.
It is a very exciting few years ahead for the best of the best, and indeed for all of us that would be classed as the rest.
I include myself in that category.
It's a good document. It's well put together. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you too.